Bit of a bogey circuit when it comes to non-finishes too. So Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel are lined up together on the front row of the grid. Mark Webber is on the second row with Kimi Raikkonen alongside, starting in fourth for Lotus. His teammate Romain Grosjean is fifth. Daniel Ricciardo, another great effort from the Australian, in sixth position. Felipe Massa seventh and Fernando Alonso eighth on the harder compound tyre, the medium tyre. Then Jenson Button, we're expecting him to be starting on that tyre as well, and Nico Hulkenberg for Sauber in the top 10 for only the second time this year. Rosberg is back in 11th, Paul di Resta is 12th, but he's been in the points consistently this year. Perez is 13th for McLaren, Gutierrez is 14th in his Sauber. Then we see Adrian Sutil, he had DRS problems in qualifying. Jean-Eric Vergne struggled a bit, he ended up 16th on the grid. The two Williams, as the team celebrates the 600th Grand Prix, are 17th and 18th on the grid. Then Jules Bianchi for Marussia and Guido van der Garde for Caterham. And then as we get to the back of the grid, it's Max Chilton in the other Marussia, and one penalty on the grid, and that is for Charles Pic, a change of gearbox, so that has dropped him back behind the other young team's cars. Well, Daniel Ricciardo there, starting in sixth place. Again, David, another opportunity to show what he can do here today. Yeah, he's certainly putting himself in pole position, I would say, for replacing Mark Webber at the end of the year. Kimi Raikkonen, world champion, certainly has got great consistency and delivers serious points, but to sort of make that young driver program work for Toro Rosso, then someone eventually, other than Sebastian, the man we're looking at there, needs to go from Toro Rosso into Red Bull Racing. Yes, that's right. Sebastian Vettel is the best of all of those, but there is Lewis Hamilton, our pole winner then, third pole of this season, and at the sixth Mercedes pole position of 2013. Very impressive when you think back the last few years where they've struggled a little bit. There on the remains of the Nürburg Castle, a fantastic vantage point as they look down over the circuit, over the old circuit as well, the Nordschleife, through the trees, the circuit that was termed a green hell by Jackie Stewart. Well, the modern circuit is somewhat different to that. It's a much more standard kind of Grand Prix track, but it's become a fun part of the whole calendar now for many of the drivers, and it's just lovely to see so many fans here to soak up the atmosphere and enjoy what could possibly be a German victory. Maybe Sebastian Vettel is going to win at home for the first time, but don't discount Rosberg completely, even though he's starting from 11th. But it is going to be tough to beat Lewis Hamilton. He starts on pole position. And of course, don't discount Mark Webber, Kimi Raikkonen from the second row of the grid. We're just looking at which tyres some of the teams are using as expected. Button's going to be coming out on a set of the medium compound tyres, a brand new set. Hulkenberg's on medium tyres as well. So different strategies of this race are really going to make for a very, very exciting outcome, which won't really be decided until we get to the very end and the checkered flag. Six cars at the front of the grid are starting on the soft tyre here. The two Ferraris are the faster those on the medium compound tyre in 7th and 8th. The field eases away on the formation lap at the Nürburgring. But Gary, what is the ideal scenario for Ferrari in the early laps to make their strategy work?
All they need, these guys are on the soft tyres at the front, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Mark Webber, etc., to really run into this graining stage. When the front tyre starts graining, it's very, very difficult. You just have to slow down because you have no front grip. And, you know, at the end of the day, if they slow down enough, the pack will get together again. When they pit, Alonso wants to be leading the race, so by lap 10, if he's leading the race, he's got a good chance to win it.
Alternatively, for Hamilton and for Vettel, they're starting on the soft tyre. What are they looking for? Do they just need to steam into the distance, or what?
Yeah, they just need to steam into the distance. They need to drive the car right now as fast as possible, and when the tyre starts to drop off, pit then. Don't back it up, because you're just losing time. You know, that's the thing that will pull it together, but they need to react very, very quickly.
And presumably, whichever of the teammates gets to stop first in the case of Red Bull, that could be quite an advantage, whether it's Vettel or Webber.
Yes, it is, and I mean, it's how this unfolds. I mean, this first corner complex, turn 1, 2, 3, it really is very, very tight down there, and, you know, they've really got to look after that and get through that corner. Yeah, well, there's a massive support, of course, for Sebastian. He is the World Championship leader by 21 points, and Red Bull Racing are leading in the Constructors' points, but Mercedes now ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' table. Of course, Rosberg not as far up the grid as they were hoping and expecting. He should have been in the battle for pole position, but they miscalculated the cut-off time, and Rosberg therefore starting down in 11th. And David, there's quite a lot of confidence at Lotus as well. Kimi Raikkonen may never have won here, but the car is looking quick
and consistent, and that's the thing that's really marked out Kimi's second career in Formula One. He's been able to deliver very strong race pace. He's only been able to get the one victory at the beginning of the year, but I think that he'll certainly be one to watch this afternoon. But I think that, as Gary mentioned there, once we get the first round of pit stops, which will definitely be before the lap 10, then we're going to find ourselves with the Ferraris and Hulkenberg and Rosberg and Button. Those guys will take up the lead of this Grand Prix and try and see how far they can go on the medium tyre.
I'm quite intrigued. Let's listen to Webber.
Okay, Mark, at the start, if you get wheel slip, hold the throttle.
Final instructions there. I'm intrigued that some of the drivers like Paul di Resta, for example, Sergio Perez, are using soft compound tyres going into the start of this race. We sort of expected a lot of the guys further down the order to start on the harder compound tyre, but interestingly, not as many as expected. We've got 5 in the top 10, or 4 doing it in the top 10, and then we've got di Resta on the soft tyres, as I say, and the 2 Williams drivers, they're on the medium compound tyre. So now everybody building up to the start of this Grand Prix, out of the final turn, just cleaning up those tyres for the final time. Remember, it's Hamilton on pole, Vettel on the front row with him. Then it's Webber and Raikkonen on row 2. Grosjean, good starting position for Grosjean, best grid of the year. Ricciardo is 6th, then Massa and Alonso. Button is 9th, Hulkenberg 10th, then Rosberg, of course, in 11th, hoping to make the strategy work as well. He's also on the medium tyre. Di Resta is 12th, then Perez, Gutierrez, Sutil, a bit further back than expected, then Verne, Bottas and Maldonado, desperate to get points for Williams. Can they do it in their 600th Grand Prix weekend? And then down towards the back, the likes of Bianchi, Van der Garde, Chilton and Charles Pic, who lines up right at the rear of the field. All set to go then in Germany. Lights out, away we go, and Hamilton gets away, but Vettel makes a good start as well, and cutting across goes Hamilton, but Vettel's got the inside line. Now watch Webber. Webber's on the outside. Webber challenging his teammate, and meanwhile behind Kimi Raikkonen's had a pretty good getaway, but Vettel it is who makes the initial start. Good start indeed, and Hamilton from pole position has been squeezed down to 3rd, and he's got Kimi Raikkonen now in his wheel tracks as Grosjean goes round the outside and goes very wide and is under pressure from Massa. Alonso's not got away particularly well here.
Well, it's unusual for the Ferrari, but certainly great starts there from both the Red Bulls. As the field now starts to string out, the danger zone for contact is really in those first 4 corners. And Grosjean trying to be a little bit brave around the outside, and his teammate Raikkonen, but they've lined up the 2 Lotuses in there behind the Mercedes of Hamilton. And as Gary mentioned, these guys at the front have got to just take everything they can out of these soft tyres.
Jean-Eric Verne going side by side there with Guido van der Garde. Bad getaway, I think, there for Jean-Eric Verne. Rosberg, by the way, didn't really manage to gain many places. In fact, he's lost one. He's down to 12th behind Hulkenberg. Perez has gained a few as we've got somebody running a little bit wide, as we see Gutierrez, I think, under pressure there from the Williams right behind him of Maldonado. But it is Vettel who leads. Webber 2nd, then Hamilton. Raikkonen chasing. Grosjean, then Massa, and then ahead of Alonso is Ricciardo in the Toro Rosso. So that's not really what Alonso needed. Button is running 9th, and Perez, with that good start, has got himself in the top 10.
Well, that's exactly what Massa needed to do and get past the Toro Rosso early. Alonso's going to have a bit more difficulty now, as inevitably the tyres go off on that Toro Rosso. And as they cross the line for the first time, Webber will be focused on trying to keep himself within 1 second of his teammate, and at the end of lap 2, of course, he'll be in the DRS zone as there's a pass here. Perez on Button.
Yes, for the 2 McLarens going side by side once again. Perez on the inside, and he squeezes past Button, and that was a good aggressive manoeuvre. And the Force India's behind, also having a tussle. Sutil and Di Resta, we'll keep an eye on that to see if there's been any change, but Perez has definitely got past Jenson Button. There he is, Sergio Perez, and the Mexican looking feisty once again on the opening lap, or the second lap here, chasing down Alonso.
Indeed, he's on the softer tyre. That's well over a second a lap faster than the tyre that Jenson Button's running on at this stage. So no big surprise that over the next few laps, Perez will be able to make some performance gains, and then inevitably he'll have to pit early, and then Jenson will be hoping to stay out there for, well, the tyre life on the medium tyre is over 30 laps, but whether they'd look to do anywhere near as much as that in this phase of the race when they've got so much fuel on board, Ben, I would be surprised.
Di Resta is running ahead of his teammate Sutil. They're running down in 13th, 14th places at the moment. But up front it is Sebastian Vettel who leads this race from his teammate Mark Webber. Lewis Hamilton holding on in there in 3rd place for Mercedes, but certainly not the ideal first lap for him. There you are, 2 Red Bulls, then the Mercedes, the 2 Lotus cars of Raikkonen and Grosjean, followed by Massa, Ricciardo and Alonso. There's Perez, followed by Jenson Button. He's being chased by Nico Hulkenberg and then Nico Rosberg, the 2 Nicos. And then you've got Paul Di Resta just ahead of Adrian Sutil. So Sutil gained on the first lap, Di Resta lost. There was quite a gap between them on the grid, but actually they've ended up virtually together as they come across the line. Vettel a 1:38.0 on that lap, certainly faster than anyone chasing him. And as the rest of them come across the line, Di Resta 13th, then Sutil, then behind them Maldonado and Gutierrez.
Well, here we see the getaway. It didn't look like a particularly bad start initially from Lewis Hamilton, but when they get into the phase of releasing curves, give him an extra 80 horsepower, it's just that point where they had an issue engaging it or not. He just got swamped by the Red Bulls. Let's keep an eye on Grosjean. It's on the outside of the Ferrari there, looks for the opportunity around the outside into turn 3 on his teammate, and then, well, a bit of room to play with, gets away with it. Other than that, it's a clean start. Normally we see some sort of wing damaging contact. Let's listen. Just at the last part of the getaway, you could hear that sort of juddering. That's the tyre. It's not doing a full wheel spin. It's actually judders on the surface of the road, and that's the point where Lewis struggled. So I can't tell from that graphic whether it was at the point of engaging curves, but just a nice side shot from Webber. Look at that, almost absolutely line astern as they go across, and then gets very tight. Mark actually marginally ahead as they go into the apex, but wisely leaves space for his teammate. So they definitely have benefited from that different procedure, Ben. We heard him confirming that he had done 3 practice starts, both him and Seb, on the way to the grid. And wow, Alonso having to be very evasive there with Daniel Ricciardo and the Toro Rosso, but cat-like reactions from the Spaniard.
Yes, that's right. Well, remember, Webber dropped down to 15th on the opening lap at Silverstone, combined with a bit of accident damage with Grosjean, but it's a much, much better start, and Webber's just gone faster than Vettel on that lap.
There's a spinner in the background.
Yeah,
that was contact, I believe, from, was that well, I'm not even going to guess.
Oh, it's Massa. Massa spun down at turn 1. As you say, there might have been another car involved with that. He was running 6th. He was behind
Stalled, Grosjean. I believe. Sorry, Ben, he stalled, so whether they'll need to put a safety car to remove that car or not, well, if they do, you'll see all of the soft runners will just be heading straight for the pit.
And Rob Smedley looks very upset about it, and I'll tell you what, it ends a record for Massa. He has finished all 14 races he's raced in Germany, and yet he has become the first non-finisher by the looks of things here in the German Grand Prix of 2013, and his good record here has come to a conclusion. He is having a bit of a tough time. Better race, or better qualifying last time out. Let's just take a look here at what happened. Oh, well, I don't think there was contact, was there?
No, not at all. It looked like the car, whether he had oversteer initially as he started to turn right, and then he's sort of pendulumed round and then had that unusual spin to the left. That could be a KERS harvesting situation, you know, where they actually use the wasted energy through the braking phase to store the power into the batteries, and that's something the drivers have to constantly change and evolve as they go through different phases of the race. You know, at this stage of the race, they're running several seconds a lap slower than qualifying because they just have so much fuel on board, and 10 kilograms of fuel costs you about 3.5 tenths of a second per lap.
Well, you can see the yellow flags as the cars recover, so no DRS clearly at that section of circuit. No overtaking is allowed. Fastest lap goes back to Vettel. Now, this is the stage where you want to see if the lap times from the leaders starts to drop away. We're on to lap 5, and we're expecting this soft tyre to start giving up. Paul Di Resta has come into the pit straight away then, so it's an early pit stop. And also one of the, and he almost clips the Toro Rosso of Jean-Eric Vergne there as he comes back out. We also saw the Caterham of Charles Pic making a pit stop.
Well, Mark Webber, a couple of times or so quicker in that first sector, so he's certainly trying to maintain that gap to his teammate. As I said, if he can get it into under a second, he'll get the DRS. That'll give him, well, almost up to about 20 kilometers an hour in top speed, so hugely beneficial.
Let's take another look at this release, David.
Well, the Force India, Paul reacts, and the Toro Rosso had to slow down. So certainly the stewards will have a little look at that to see and determine whether it was an unsafe release or not.
Well, Vettel continues to lead, but the sector times are now just beginning to drop off a tiny bit. Not a huge amount yet, but DRS is enabled once again, so they will be able to use it as they come down start finish. He stays out for another lap, so they don't feel as though the tyre performance has gone just yet on the Red Bulls. They're looking after their tyres quite well, and I think Hamilton is staying out as well. Yes, he is in third, so none of these lead group on their soft tyres are yet coming into the pits, but they are building up their advantage. Ricciardo, who's running sixth now, is 4.2 seconds behind. No, in fact, he's not anymore. Alonso's got past. So where's Ricciardo? He's come in. Ricciardo has come into the pit. So he is the first of the front runners on the soft tyre to come in and change for the medium compound tyre, and there he is.
That's done the Ferrari a favour. He doesn't have to worry about running in his dirty air. Unsurprisingly, puts the medium tyre, the prime tyre that's available this afternoon.
So, how are those split times looking for the Red Bulls up front at the moment? 32.2, still in the ballpark, about 4/10 off the fastest that we've seen through that first sector. So that tyre performance is definitely beginning to go away a little bit. Now, which presumably it'll be Vettel gets first choice, David, as he is the leader of the two cars. Just seeing the incident involving Vernon Di Resta.
Much quicker than Kimi.
And Grosjean telling his team that he's much quicker than Kimi. They are running currently in 4th and 5th places. There they are.
Now, whether the team react to it or not remains to be seen. Doesn't look like
stage of the race. He doesn't need to be frying his tyres by sitting right on Hamilton's gearbox, so he's just in touch at the moment, and I would think that that's what he wants to be. Still no sign of Vettel coming into the pits, so they're going to get a few more laps out of these tyres. Looking at reasonable lap times here. They did a 1:37.8 last time. He does a 1:37.9. But in does come Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton is one of the leaders to come in. So he's going to get off these soft tyres and now go probably for just one more stop in this race, if they can get the distance out of these tyres.
Well, a new set of tyres going on, and of course this now gives Red Bull and the teams that have stayed out, they'll be able to look at not his first sector time, of course, because it's going to have the combination of the stop time in the pit lane, but sector 2, they'll be able to see just how much faster he's able to go in a new set of the prime tyres. As I said at the beginning, new to new, there's a 1.5 second difference between the yellow sidewall and the white sidewall tyre.
He's come back out in 10th place. He's just ahead of Pastor Maldonado there, who started the race on the medium compound tyre. But this outlap is crucial for Lewis Hamilton, that he doesn't get held up. And interestingly also, he's not far behind his teammate. Rosberg is currently running in 9th place, on board with Hamilton here. So he's made the pit stop.
OK, Lewis, big push now, big push.
And this could work to his advantage versus the Red Bulls, because the early stopper should be quicker on the next lap.
He's gone wide.
Pushed too hard. They asked for a big push. That was just a bit too much. Very late on the brakes, but he has got a little bit of air in front of him at the moment. As we see Button going through the shot, he's running 8th. Hulkenberg is in 9th place. Rosberg, let's just listen.
Box. Talk map 1 and box. Talk 1 and box.
They've got to respond, haven't they, David?
Nice early message there from his engineer, Rocky. And this will be pretty close with Rosberg, actually, whether they get in and out in front of them. Certainly they should get out in front of Maldonado, who's 20 seconds behind. Rosberg last time round was 16.4, so not quite enough for them to be able to jump him unless Rosberg has had a tardy lap. That was an impressive pit stop.
Beautiful pit stop once again by Red Bull, and we're also seeing
Perez in the background.
Perez in. I don't think Hamilton will have done enough. Let's wait and see as Vettel comes back out. Vettel coming out in front of Rosberg, I think. In fact, I don't think Hamilton has done nearly enough.
That's right, there's Rosberg.
Yeah, so he's in front of Hamilton's teammate there and rejoins the field, Sebastian Vettel, but he's got out ahead of Hamilton, who's in front of him, and the two Mercedes will be running very close to one another, and of course Hamilton will be on fresher tyres.
Yeah, and crucially, Sebastian Vettel in front, some fresher tyres on Rosberg. That was absolutely a perfect example of teamwork. It was always going to be tight whether they could get Sebastian out in front of Rosberg, but that's exactly what they've done. 7 racing laps, and he's pulled out enough of a gap to take on new tyres and still be in front of the Mercedes.
So really impressive. But I tell you, Webber, who has stayed out and is now leading this race, has just done a very good first sector. His tyres have not quite gone away yet, so he will still be pushing here, Webber, to see whether he gets a chance of beating Vettel when he comes out. And of course Vettel's got a little bit of traffic. Yeah, so Webber is one to watch in this scenario here. Let's listen.
Box, Mark, box, talk 1 and box.
Yeah, that was predictable. They're bringing him in on the very next lap. So where is Webber? He's now going to be heading into the pits. Here we are, Mark Webber into the pits. Will he be able to come out ahead of Sebastian Vettel? It's going to be very close between them.
I think he will. Vettel's got some traffic ahead. I think Webber's going to get out.
Oh no, he won't, because it's a slow start, the right rear. And his chance has gone, surely now, of being in front.
His wheel's gone.
Oh no, Mark Webber into the pit.
Oh no.
And it hits a guy in the pits. That's horrible to see.
Yeah.
And that errant wheel, and that is just a shocker for Mark Webber. It's not what you want to see at all. So rarely it happens when you consider the speed of these pit stops. But Mark Webber's race, well, it could well be over. They might be able to get that car back, I suppose, but any chance, obviously, of doing well in this race, all gone for Mark Webber. Sebastian Vettel in the traffic there. So now the race leader, interestingly, is Romain Grosjean. Grosjean passed Raikkonen. Raikkonen, in fact, has been in, that's why. So Raikkonen has been into the pit. So Grosjean is now the race leader here, ahead of Alonso, of course, has stayed out. We know Alonso is going to be staying out there on the medium compound tyre for that much longer. But Grosjean doing some good lap times, 1:37.
Okay, switch off the engine, please. Switch off the engine.
And it is over for Mark Webber. The Nürburgring race, which has always been good for Mark Webber, took his first ever victory here. Sadly, on his last visit to the track in Formula One, it's not ended in a good way.
No, it hasn't, but I've got to say my immediate thoughts are finding out, of course, whether that cameraman who was hit with that bouncing wheel he's been attending to in the pit lane. We can see it from the commentary box, so hopefully nothing too serious. But meanwhile,
Grosjean's just done a brilliant lap there, David, and his tyres, remember, the soft tyre he's on. The Lotus is doing what we've seen in the past, which is looking after its tyres very well. Grosjean's on for a real chance here of being in front of some of the other soft tyre. Webber's car being pulled back. Vettel Grand Prix earlier this year, and it cost him a shot at a podium there. Look at the two Mercedes now right together as Rosberg in front of Hamilton. Hamilton on the fresher tyres, and the two teammates want to make their own race work here.
Yeah, but they've got to...
Raikkonen with Hamilton. I hadn't realised Raikkonen was trying to go around the outside of Hamilton. Doesn't quite manage it. And that is also very important, because Raikkonen was behind Hamilton before the pit stops. He very nearly had a chance of getting past him.
Well, as Hamilton's being held up by Rosberg, that allowed Raikkonen the chance to jump. And certainly, if the team are trying to get the maximum result this afternoon, they've got to release Hamilton as Webber rejoins.
So he is still in the race, right. Did wonder whether he was going to be able to rejoin. Obviously, no real damage done to his car when the wheel came off. So he comes out, as you say, right at the very back of the field. So let's just remind you what's happening. Grosjean is leading this race for Lotus. Alonso second. Button is now up to third place, having started on the medium tyre. He's ahead of Hulkenberg, who is... and Vettel's in there as well. So Vettel is actually fourth, then Hulkenberg in fifth place, then Rosberg and Hamilton, as we've seen, then Raikkonen in eighth, Maldonado's in ninth, and Bottas in 10th. But of course, we've now got cars that are on quite different strategies. Those that started on the medium compound tyre going as far as they can into this race, and Grosjean still not coming into the pits, interestingly. So he still leads this race by 9.6 seconds.
And the DRS zone.
Vettel making a move here, getting past Button, and that brings Vettel up into third position. So he's forging his way through the traffic, which is, of course, key to his strategy. He cannot afford to get held up by the traffic at all.
So Nico, really need to push hard now. Grosjean is about to pit, and he'll come out in front of you if you don't close the gap to Hulkenberg.
So Rosberg's pushing for his own sake, but he's got Lewis Hamilton chasing him and Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, actually, that unquestionably Lewis Hamilton is the faster Mercedes at this time on fresher tyres. And, well, remains to be seen.
Let's just get down to the pits. Tom, have you got any information on us after that pit stop for Mark Webber?
I haven't got any information yet about this, the FOM cameraman, other than that he's gone to the medical centre, and I will get information to you about that as soon as possible. But it's just so rare to see Red Bull make a mistake like that. Funnily enough, there had been a bit of gamemanship prior to Sebastian Vettel making his first pit stop. The guys came out into the pit lane, then went back in, and of course it was the right rear was the issue for Mark Webber there. The wheel actually came off in front of me in the pit lane. He stopped about 50 metres to my right. Nigel Hope, mechanic, picked up the right rear, took it back, to the pits. They turned Mark's engine off and sent him on his way again, but it's just desperately sad.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there, Tom.
Nico, you are on a different strategy to Lewis. Don't hold him up.
Now, is he actually going to let him through here or not? That's the question, David.
Well, that's a very clear message from the team that they would expect him to do so. And although when you look at that gap, you'd say, well, he's not close enough. But what happens, of course, is you run in the dirty air of the car in front. They've used all the efficient energy when they pass through the undisturbed air, and they chuck a whole bunch of dirty stuff at you, and the car just doesn't perform. And although he's in fresher tyres and on a different strategy, then you can see he's having to lift up through the high-speed chicane. That allows Raikkonen to really close on to the back of Hamilton. We also picked up a message that Hamilton's rear tyres were close to the edge in peak temperature, so he's maybe in a situation of losing the rear.
We are still on plan A target lap.
So plan A for Jenson Button. You would expect them to perhaps be looking at a two-stop race. Grosjean, we gather, is going to be doing another lap before he comes in the pits. This is an incredibly impressive first stint from the Lotus of Romain Grosjean. Nobody thought the soft tyre would still be delivering this kind of lap time. In comes Alonso. That's early. That's a much earlier stop from Alonso than we were expecting, because he started on the medium compound tyre. He's done only 13 laps. Hamilton had a go at Rosberg there, couldn't quite make the move stick, and that again gives Raikkonen the chance to close up. So Rosberg has not allowed him through, and Alonso is back out once again.
Well, put the tyres to one side, that's actually a sort of classic three-stop lap, but of course with these medium tyres, they're getting very long durability, low degradation, so he certainly can two-stop it from there.
Well, maybe the higher track temperatures are making two-stop less likely now. Maybe we will end up in a three-stop race, because track temperature 44 degrees, and they haven't run these revised tyres, let's not forget. They have a huge amount of information on the Pirelli tyre for this weekend.
Well, Lotus are able to pull off a pit stop like we saw from Red Bull with Sebastian Vettel, then he has a chance of coming out in front of Button, so he'd be out in just in behind Sebastian Vettel. So it's been a good effort from Romain Grosjean.
Very good effort indeed, yes. We'll see him in this time, we think. He's just gone through the middle sector point, so he should be heading into the pits any moment. And of course, then now that we've seen Alonso make his pit stop, that will bring Vettel back into the lead of this race, with Jenson Button will be in second place. Hulkenberg still going well in the Sauber. He's on that different tyre strategy. And in has come our race leader, Romain Grosjean, switches to the medium compound tyre and gets away quickly.
Good stop. It's interesting that he's gone longer on the soft than Alonso was able to do on the medium.
Yeah, that is amazing. Very surprising indeed. So Romain Grosjean rejoins.
Just in front of Hulkenberg.
Yeah, Hulkenberg just there behind him. So Romain Grosjean finally coming in for his pit stop, managing a lap longer on his soft tyres than Fernando Alonso managed on his medium tyres.
Have they swapped positions, the Mercedes?
Yeah, you're right. Rosberg's behind Hamilton now. So Hamilton's managed to get past Rosberg, and Raikkonen trying to do likewise here.
No way that you can make anything work from there. He's definitely into a three-stop strategy now. So, you know, it's one of those sort of things. Maybe something's gone wrong with him, but for Romain Grosjean, fantastic there. To get to lap 13 in those tyres, doing the laps he did, now he's out in front of Hulkenberg. It's exactly where he wanted to be. Yeah,
so Grosjean is one to watch in this race. It's a brilliant first stint from him. About time he needs to deliver a good result for the sake of his career. Kimi Raikkonen, though, still held up behind Rosberg, and of course Hamilton's now able to get away a bit.
Yeah, Hamilton able to get away because he doesn't have to keep an eye on Kimi Raikkonen behind him. You know, that's now Rosberg's job. So Lewis is going to be able to push a little bit and try and shut that gap down on Hulkenberg.
Raikkonen's going to be close enough to have a look at Rosberg into the chicane.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have a go, but of course he's on the outside here, but he's still going to go for it. Well, that was a lovely move from Kimi Raikkonen. He just makes the corner, really went deep into the braking area, but now he's...
corner at all. He pulled out such a gap as he headed to the first apex. So, yeah, great pass. Good press. You can see he activates it along the back straight. Rosberg defends to the left. Oh, no, sorry, excuse me. This is Grosjean and Button. I thought we were seeing a replay of the move on Rosberg.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because Grosjean's just retaken second place there. So Grosjean is only 4.3 seconds behind Vettel. Now, this is a replay of Mark Webber's pit stop with that right rear.
Well, I think what happened they had a problem with the nut, of course, so he's brought the gun off. And as he's been putting in a new nut or adjusting something, I think what's happened is the man responsible for putting the green light on has taken that as an indication that the actual wheel was engaged, where I believe they normally have a sensor in there will tell you that it's either been seated.
Okay, Roman, good job, excellent job, Roman. So let's get after Vettel now.
Ayu Komatsu, that's
Okay, Sebastian. Grosjean stayed out longer on his set of options. He's now P2, you're +4 Grosjean. +4 Grosjean, he's got new primes now.
And that's the key. He's got new primes. He's got the new medium tyre, so he's in better shape with his tyres than you are, Sebastian, so you're going to have to watch out here. Vettel, though, managing the gap at the moment, although it's a new fastest lap by Grosjean, who does bring the gap down a bit, 3.4 seconds, and in fact, a very quick lap from Grosjean, as you would expect on a brand new set of tyres, but of course, that new tyre advantage goes away pretty quickly.
Well, it will drop off, but he's making hay while he's got that new set of tyres on. Right, this is going to be the Raikkonen pass. So Rosberg defends to the left. Raikkonen late on the brakes, locks it up, but very clever, keeps it inside the curve there, otherwise he probably would have had to have given the position back.
Yeah, beautifully done in the end, and he had to do that. So let's bring you up to date with most of the certainly the front runners having made a pit stop, but of course those who started on the medium tyre, the likes of Jenson Button, Nico Hülkenberg, have not yet made a pit stop. So Vettel leads, Grosjean is second, Button is third without having stopped yet, Hülkenberg fourth in a similar situation, Hamilton is then fifth, Raikkonen is sixth, they both have made pit stops, Rosberg is seventh on a similar strategy to Button, then Alonso's down in 8th place, Maldonado 9th, Bottas is 10th, ahead of Ricciardo, who made an early stop, seems to have lost out as a result of that. Perez is 12th, Sutil 13th, ahead of Di Resta now. Just listen.
Box, boost to 0.
Now that's interesting, because that would imply a 3-stop as well for Nico Rosberg. They're bringing him in on lap 16, so perhaps we are seeing this track with its higher temperatures moving us more towards a 3-stop race than the expected 2-stop race, and Nico Rosberg will be coming in unless it's more to deal with traffic. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
Well, what we were expecting to see was those guys starting on the medium tyre to take up the lead at the head of this race, certainly in this early phase, but it just hasn't happened. The guys who started on the soft tyres have been able to really use the performance, best displayed there by how far Grosjean went, and it just goes to show that what they learn on a Friday is only an indication, it's not an exact guide.
Hamilton is sizing up Hülkenberg here with Kimi Raikkonen right behind him, and again these two do need to get past Hülkenberg as quickly as possible from their point of view, but from Hülkenberg's point of view he will do his utmost, of course, to stay in front of the Mercedes and the Lotus. Sauber have had a really tough time of it this year, and in fact they haven't even been able to keep all their payments to Hülkenberg going, so he's a bit behind on his payments, but they are desperate not only for money but for a decent result. He got into the top 10 at the last Grand Prix at Silverstone, very valuable point it was. What can he do here this weekend? We don't really know how it will work out, but from his point of view he'll just want to keep these guys behind them, and Hamilton meanwhile will be doing his utmost to go through here.
It's a cracking part of the circuit up through that high-speed chicane. That's when the drivers really feel at one with the car. You get downforce pushing it into the ground and just enabling you to go so much faster through the turns.
But it's not enough to really close out. This is one of the DRS zones up the backstretch here towards the chicane, where Raikkonen made his move, of course, but Hamilton's not close enough there. And then they come through the chicane and up to the final turn, and then there's a second DRS zone. Oh, and he's in. Hülkenberg is in. So that clears the way. And again, it's earlier than might have been expected for somebody starting on the medium compound tyre. We are looking more like this being a 3-stop race now. Hamilton is released. Raikkonen goes with him. And so they will now be chasing after Jenson Button, who is the only one of the front runners not to have stopped. I wonder if Button really can go all the way to sort of lap 24, 25 and make this a 2-stop race. All good in the pits this time for Nico Hülkenberg. So back with the Hamilton-Raikkonen battle. 4.6 though, a bit of a slow stop actually for Hülkenberg. I thought it was better than that, but it wasn't as quick as expected. Raikkonen is able to close right up to the back of the Mercedes. Rosberg, of course, in the meanwhile has made his pit stop.
Well, Hamilton's running last lap 38.6. That's 37.0 for Grosjean. So that tells you the sort of difference in performance between the Lotus and the Mercedes at this stage of the race. So that's why Raikkonen's all over the back of him like a rash.
Yeah, and is he going to be able to find a way past Hamilton? Of course, a great piece of late braking earlier on that Kimi did, but it's a different story trying to do that on Lewis Hamilton.
I have no grip, man. These tyres are not holding together very well.
Oh dear, so it looks as though Mercedes, who've had this problem before during the race of the tyre performance going away, look at Raikkonen, he is catching in the DRS zone, and he may well do what he did just now, late on the brakes. Can he get it turned into the chicane? He turns it in, and he is past Lewis Hamilton into 4th place, and Kimi Raikkonen is Hamilton as well. He made a stop a little while ago, of course, Fernando Alonso. He's on relatively fresh tyres, and I don't think it's going to be too long before he goes past the Mercedes. So, David, what is going on for Mercedes here in comparison to Silverstone, where we saw both Hamilton in the early stages and Rosberg particularly later? They looked after the tyre so well, but it doesn't seem to be happening here. Well, track temperature, of course, 44 degrees, so a lot warmer, different construction of tyre, Kevlar belt. And well, this is everyone discovering really on this day. I know I use that expression a lot, but Formula One is very much about this moment in history. If you ran the same race tomorrow and cooler track temperatures, you might see it, or you'd almost certainly see it.
These guys are on different tyres to me, man.
These guys are on different tyres to me. I don't think so, Lewis. I think Pirelli have probably provided the same tyres. It's how the car uses them. And he did have problems in Friday practice with the balance, didn't he? Yeah, well, we were seeing graining being the main sort of restriction in performance through the early part of this weekend. But as the track temperatures come up and more rubber's gone down, we're in the situation now where thermal degradation, natural heat in the surface of the tyre, which is the issue. Will Alonso go for a late move? Now thinks about just keeping the position as he comes through the chicane, and he'll try and get himself nice and close as he comes through the last hairpin. It's a long right-hander, quite difficult to make too much headway through that corner, probably a little bit too far back unless he goes for a big break into the first corner. He's getting the slipstream now, DRS open. Will he have a look into turn 1? He's not close enough, and there's no way Alonso can attack there. Bit of a moment there, a bit of opposite lock on the apex for Hamilton. Hamilton's just looks like in a rally car. He's just sliding around, and he's been very clear with his message to the team. And he clearly wants to get in and put another set of tyres, but they'll be crunching the numbers and trying to do damage limitation. Now, Raikkonen has made the move on, well, that was when he made the move, sorry, on Hamilton. That was a little while ago now, and that was how much room he had. Take another look at it here. Now we're in top speed. We're within 2-3 kilometers now of top speed with DRS open and qualifying. So whether they have decided to put a bit more downforce on the car, or whether the upgrades that they've been bringing has just made the car a bit less efficient, so more drag. And here Alonso getting any position. Well, as he gets himself through 10 and 11, he'll be in a perfect place as he accelerate out of 11. Down on the back straight to do a Raikkonen on the Mercedes. Well, let's see if he can do it. Up towards the chicane. Fernando Alonso trying to get past Lewis Hamilton and move the Ferrari up here. He gets the slipstream, he moves to the outside. Battle on the brakes, but Hamilton is late on the brakes, and Alonso cannot repeat what Kimi Raikkonen did. Hamilton fends him off for just a little bit longer. Just over 1/3 distance completed here at the Nürburgring. Sebastian Vettel leads the race. Romain Grosjean is currently second after a brilliant first stint. Button is holding on to the tyres he started the race, but here comes Alonso. He moves to the outside down towards turn 1. Hamilton protects the inside line. Can he cut back on the exit? This is classic racing here at the Nürburgring. He's on the outside now into turn 2, but Hamilton holds the inside line, tries not to run too wide. And you're watching two world champions going wheel to wheel, fighting for 5th position. Great stuff.
Is Nico having the same problem?
A firm Lewis. Nico suffering with the same issues.
I doubt if he said that just then. He probably said that a moment or two ago. Rosberg, of course, having made a pit stop down in 14th position now. And Alonso still not able to quite get past Hamilton. This is costing Alonso dearly in his attempts to make sure he gets a decent podium finish out of this race today. Just a quick reminder that Mark Webber had that incident in the pits earlier on. He is still running in this race. He's down in last position, but he is still running. The only retirement we've had so far is Felipe Massa, who spun very early on at the first corner. We do hear, though, the good news that the cameraman is basically okay. We will update you further with that as we hear any more information, but that is good to hear, and a relief after seeing someone hit by a wheel. He is in the medical centre now and being treated, but he is basically okay. So that's good news. Meanwhile, the tussle here between Hamilton and Alonso, no change as they went through the chicane. Back to the second DRS area, just coming up here.
And Button in.
Right, Button has got to lap 22. Still not quite far enough to really make it a straightforward two-stop race. He's going to need... Oh, and here comes Alonso. Hamilton just again fends him off. And there's nowhere really for Alonso to go except round the outside. And surely he's not going to go all the way there, is he?
That was brilliant. Lewis gave him space. He could have just ran him off the road because he had track position, but he had respect for Fernando and he gave him the room.
He's going to go to the outside. There's not space there, though.
It started at turn 1. It's still going as we go through turn 6.
Great stuff between Hamilton and Alonso. But Alonso can't find his way through as yet. Vettel leads the race from Grosjean. Raikkonen now up to third with Jenson Button having made his pit stop. But Button will still be up there amongst the top group. He comes back out in 6th place, Jenson Button.
I'm pushing, man, I'm pushing.
I think we can see that Lewis Hamilton's pushing. He is getting every last tiny little bit of grip out of that car that he can. We know he's struggling, but he is still fending Alonso off. By the way, in 7th place behind these two at the moment, Maldonado's 7th, Perez is 8th, Hulkenberg 9th, and Sutil is in 10th position. Back up to the chicane again. He's just not close enough at that point.
It's not, and you've got to wonder just how long he can go. Well, not long, he's in. Hamilton for his second stop.
So Hamilton gets out of the way for now. Oh, look at that. Hamilton almost sliding into the curb on the outside. Slows the car down and brings it into pit lane. So it's a relatively short stint for Hamilton on that. 15 laps. Well, that's really all we're seeing out of these harder tyres. Less than we expected. 15 laps on that set. Away goes Lewis Hamilton once again. Now, where will he be in comparison to Jenson Button? Button's just gone down. I think it's turn 1.
Yeah, he's in behind Sutil there in the Force India, so he's out just in front of him.
Yeah, that brings him out in 8th.
So Button just out in front of Perez.
Yeah, Button running...
Hulkenberg behind him.
Button 6th, Perez 7th. There is Hulkenberg in 8th position. Then, as you say, Hamilton has come back out. He's, well, it is 8th now.
We're on plan B, Timmy. We're on plan B.
Meanwhile, into the pits, Valtteri Bottas in the Williams. Gutierrez has just come back out, so has Jean-Eric Vergne as well. And that's their second pit stop. So Bottas, although it's his first pit stop, interestingly, he started on the medium compound tyre. Oh, and we've got lots of smoke coming out of the back of the Marussia of Jules Bianchi. And he's pulling off full fire indeed for Bianchi. And looks like an oil fire of some sort, presumably. The engine has expired.
A major blow up. When you see the white smoke, that's usually an indication of oil and water being mixed together. And the only way you can get oil and water mixed together in an engine is if you put a piston or a conrod or something through the side of the block.
Yeah, and that's very rare sight in Formula One nowadays. The Cosworth power unit in the back of the Marussia, and Jules Bianchi sadly walks away. In the battle of the young teams at the moment, by the way, Charles Pic is leading the battle now in the Caterham ahead of his teammate Van der Garde. But Jules Bianchi, a highly rated Frenchman who has impressed many people so far this year, is not going to get the chance to do any more impressing in this race.
Well, meanwhile at the front, Grosjean had worked the gap down to under 2 seconds, but Vettel now just starting to find a bit of pace, and it's back up to 2.6 seconds. So certainly Grosjean keeping Vettel honest this afternoon, and this is along the back straight through turn 12. And that's what a major engine blow-up looks like. You get all those juices mixing together, added to the fact that you've got an extremely hot engine, and then, well, a little bit of unburnt fuel there just igniting. And the car, unfortunately, is rolling without a driver.
Oh my goodness!
Backwards on the circuit. I've never seen that before, Ben.
No, and the tractor trying to get over to pick it up, but it has rolled thankfully to the grass now, and the leaders come through. There is the race leader, Vettel, who's obviously slowed down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hugely. Then Grosjean goes through, and then Raikkonen, and it takes out one of the...
Ah, it's perfect. It rolls the way they can push it behind the barrier. So yeah, that's a clever car. Well done, Marussia.
My goodness, what a day of incident we're seeing, both in the pits and on circuit. Safety car is out, though, and that has opened up the opportunity to come into the pits now. So all the crews are ready.
Vettel in it for his pit stop now.
So Sebastian Vettel into the pits. This is his second pit stop.
Grosjean has reacted as well.
So they're effectively on the same strategy from this point in. It's a straight fight between Vettel and Grosjean, with Raikkonen as well. Raikkonen having to stack behind Grosjean, presumably, although he was a little bit behind anyway.
This is good for Raikkonen if he can get back out and lined up close to his teammate.
Alonso's also in the pits as we speak, waiting for the Ferrari to head down pit lane. Raikkonen back out once more then. So Raikkonen re-emerges in third place. So it's Red Bull leading ahead of the two Lotus, and then the Ferrari of Alonso as he exits the pit lane.
I think that was quite a late call on the safety car, and by the time they'd actually made that call, if you just sort of watched the trajectory of the car, then they're going to have had that, the car will be moved into a safe position by now already, I would have thought. So this will be a short safety car period. We just clarify that racing cars don't have handbrakes, so Bianchi wasn't being lazy. It is quite a steep climb up to the chicane there.
Rosberg into the pits as well. Hamilton has not been into the pits. Of course, he recently made a pit stop anyway. So let's just take a look at the replays. Jules Bianchi was standing and watching his car just drifting across the track there before, and there was just nothing he could do about it, just watching from the sidelines. Normally, of course, the car is left in gear, but with the whole thing sort of detonating like it did on him, I wonder, you know, the systems and everything presumably weren't working as normal.
Yeah, the gears will be in the gears and the engine will be an incredible mess after that blow up.
So, well, a little bit of a pause for thought here. Sebastian Vettel leads the German Grand Prix ahead of Romain Grosjean. The Frenchman for Lotus then, Kimi Raikkonen. The Iceman is in third place. Vettel and Raikkonen have never won in Germany, but then again, nor has Romain Grosjean. He's never won a Grand Prix. So there's an interesting little mix of three drivers we have up front. Alonso has won plenty of times in Germany, but he's in fourth position. But of course, he is now right on the tail, thanks to being under safety car. Jenson Button has made one stop. He is going to be a little bit out of sequence with all of those guys. Still has to run the soft tyre at some point, does Jenson Button. And so does Hulkenberg, who's in sixth place. Hamilton's in seventh. Perez is eighth. Sutil is ninth. And Di Resta now into the top 10. Rosberg 11th, ahead of Maldonado. So we'll just check that as they come across the line this time.
I think this has worked best for Raikkonen out of anybody, because it's allowed him to get back onto the gearbox of his teammate through all the racing that was going on with the Mercedes cars. He dropped back several seconds.
Just looking back to see whether it's might be Maldonado, yes, ahead of Perez in fact. So it's Maldonado who is running in 8th position with the pit stop that Perez made, so he's then in 9th, and then you've got Sutil there in 10th.
Yeah, one of the consequences of trying, you know, having them all restricted in speed is this is with Rosberg heading in behind the Force India. Force India already going slowly at that part of the pit lane, so that Force India probably had his teammate in pitting, so he's trying to slow Rosberg down to give him the best chance to get a clean run into his box. And then, yeah, looks like his teammate and the other Force India had already pulled out. Then it becomes a battle of the pit crews. And the Force India, so that was clever stuff actually from the Force India to slow Rosberg down to make sure he got a clear run into his pit box. But now they're running on the safety car and they're all restricted at the pace they're able to run at.
Problem for Bottas, look, when he made his pit stop.
Wheel gun failure. They've had to swap over to the other gun. Well, they thought it was a wheel gun failure, but just the nut wasn't. Change his gun again.
So another little miscue. No, that's right. So Bottas did eventually get on his way once again. Both Williams still running in this race. Maldonado at the moment is running up inside the top 10. Hasn't yet run the soft tyre, but maybe an opportunity for Williams here today would mean so much to them to just score a point, having failed to do so this year. But there will be some quick guys behind them. Rosberg notably may well be able to pick up some places. Lapped cars now overtaking the safety car. And in fact, that is Mark Webber. Yeah, of course, Mark Webber down a lap after the incident in the pit lane he suffered. So, Sebastian Vettel knows he's got a fight on his hands. He's got the two Lotus cars behind him. Alonso not far behind as well. And in terms of the championship, of course, Vettel leading this points battle from Alonso. Alonso needs to try and get in front of him if he can.
Some messages that are being played to Vettel. He's been told that to use 1.5 seconds of KERS per lap, so they discharge some of the KERS just to maintain the temperatures in the batteries. If they get too hot or too cold, but clearly they're not going to get too cold here today, but when they get too hot they start losing efficiency. And he also had the rather polite message telling him, don't forget to drink, it's hot out there.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a beautiful day, and a little bit different to what we've experienced many times here at the Nürburgring in the past. 25 degrees it is. I can't imagine the many times you've been here, David, whether you've been racing Formula 1 or in the German Touring Car Championship. I can't imagine it's been this nice on many occasions.
This is the warmest I've ever known it in Nürburgring. You always pack your winter jacket, even in the summer here, just to be covered.
So Webber is released to go round and join the back of the queue. This is part of the regulations now, of course. Now, what was this? A replay of Webber. Well, he's just unlapping himself, so I don't quite know why. Did something happen as he came down the start-finish straight? Yeah, he is allowed to do that, isn't he? Because of the rules about overtaking the safety car. So he's passing under yellows, but he has been told that he may overtake. It was up on the screen, lapped car may now overtake. I suppose it's just showing us him going through.
Yeah.
So that was Mark Webber. Interesting little report on the radio. Lewis saying that he's in a very similar situation with his car as he was in Barcelona, i.e. no grip. Of course, famously in Barcelona, the two Mercedes dropped well back in the pack, didn't they, after qualifying on the front row together?
Yeah, doesn't sound good. Large delegation of Daimler board members here this weekend, obviously buoyed by the pole position for Mercedes, 6th of the season, but it's not looking so good in the race.
We have another retirement as well to add to Felipe Massa and Jules Bianchi. Jean-Eric Vergne's car in the garage there. Hadn't noticed that that car was out as well. So great shame for Jean-Eric Vergne. His teammate Daniel Ricciardo still